Roger Lucey, a big hand.
Well, the dusk hangs like a veil out on the road tonight, where the R62 meets the sky, and these wheels out on the highway sound like honey, and the ghosts out on the hunt are flashing by. There's a fire burning somewhere in the darkness. There's a storm where you just walked out the door, and the road is still so much longer than the way that it seemed before. And the road's the only hope for an escape route tonight, 'cause the heart is just too tangled to resist, and the one road, it just seems to go to nowhere, and the one just goes to every stop he missed, and the one just goes to every stop he missed. He can see the faces of his enemy, he can hear the voices of his kin, he can smell the sweetness of her memory and taste the bitter pleasure of her skin. So he reaches out to touch the faint reflection, but it shatters like a shadow in the storm, and the road unrolls ahead just like a roll call of every name and every face and form. And there's a crisis brewing down at the crossroads tonight. There's a man who holds his future in his fist, and the one road, it just seems to go to nowhere, and the one just goes to every stop he missed, and the one just goes to every stop he missed. Hear the heartbeat of his history as it thunders like a river through his mind, and the past is full of monuments and mystery, and the memories creep up slowly from behind, and the road ahead is shining like a ribbon, and the road behind is swallowed up by night. And he carries bits of every road he's ridden, and every heart that's traveled through his life. And there is no time for tender reminiscence, 'cause tonight's the night the devil has come down. There's no mirrors, there's no smoke, and there's no whiskey for the man who just left town, for the man who just left town, for the man who just left town. Thank you. Thanks very much. Listening to Shannon earlier reminded me of my my youth growing up in Durban, and like Shannon, I was always trying to leave that goddamn dreadful town. And I wrote this song a hell of a long time ago. In fact, 34 years ago. And was the title of my first album. And I rediscovered it recently. In fact, it came out and the album got banned for possession and distribution, and I ended up in a whole lot of trouble. And never really sang the song again. Not that the song had any kind of contentious issues but it's a song about being on the road and about kind of trying to get out of Durban. Riding high, there you go. Will I touch you, or will I know where you've been, and will you go? And I'm still hanging, and I want you to know that that highway, it's just like a prison. From where I'm standing, there's no space that's near, and the one thing only that's certain is that the road is much longer than ever before. That the road is much longer than ever before. That that road is much longer than ever before. Cars just shoot by you and the sun's in your eyes. So you stand and you sweat and you swear at the flies. And the big boys in big cars, they flash you big signs. Well, it's the same old story right up and down the line. And that highway, it's just like a prison. From where I'm standing, there's no space that's near, and the one thing only that's certain is that the road is much longer than ever before. That the road is much longer than ever before. That the road is much longer than ever before. Then a truck driver stops for a wrap, for a ride. So you get in and you talk about work till the miles and the roar of the horses, it gets in between. But the scars on his knuckles, they show you where he's been. And that highway, it's just like a prison. From where I'm standing, there's no space that's near, and the one thing only that's certain, that the road is much longer than ever before. That that road is much longer than ever before. That that road is much longer than ever before. I didn't know at the age of 23 when I wrote the song just how long the road really would be. Jesus, if I did, I wouldn't have tempted fate. Now the night is falling and I'm nearer to home, and I hear you calling, are you feeling alone? And it's up and down highways, it's always returning, 'cause somehow there just seems to be no escape from this highway, and it's just like a prison. From where I'm standing, there's no space that's near, and the one thing only that's certain, that the road is much longer than ever before. That the road is much longer than ever before. On that road is much longer, much longer, much longer, much longer, much longer. Oh, that road is much longer, much longer, much longer. Oh, that road is much longer, and the road is much longer than ever before. Thank you. Thanks very much. So many years after all that up and down the highway stuff, I finally got one of my first real regular jobs after being a barman and a doorman and a sound engineer was as a news cameraman and producer. I'm working first all in the war zones in Africa, and then later in Eastern Europe, Russia, Bosnia, Chechnya, the places, you know. But one of the places where I spent a hell of a lot of time was in Angola. I did 13 tours of duty up into the battlefront in Angola during the war. And I always wanted to write a song about what I experienced there. And I eventually wrote the song just a couple of years ago, many years after the events. And it's a song that's taken a number of true stories and kind of molded it into one story, but they all basically come from real events that I experienced while I was up in the battlefront. Well, I lived most of my life on this unforgiving land where the earth is cracked and torn. Mama said the sun had a fight with the moon on the night that I was born. Well, my name is George de Santos, but God don't ask me why. I'm as African as Africa is old. Mama said we lost our name when we lost our legacy, when the strangers came and took our gold. Oh, but I won't blame the past for the things that I have done. It's far too late to try and understand. Well, I fought against my own in a war paid for in blood, and the diamonds torn from our land. I remember as a little boy the way my mama worked in the fields, and times they were severe. She said it was the rains that failed, and then the soldiers came, and our land was filled with fear. And as the dark years of the war grew long, my own kids came to see the daily trials that stretched out through the years. Then one day with an anguished heart I started walking south, and I joined the mutineers. Where they paid us with blood money from the mighty USA, and we prayed to God from the chapter and the verse. Then they marched us into battle against our brothers and our sons. That was the day I knew that I'd been cursed. And I remember as we stormed that trench, the rain came down like nails, and that boy just threw his rifle in the mud. And as he raised his hands into the air, I shot him down. Some nights I still wake up and I can hear that thud. Well, he couldn't have been much older than the son I'd left behind. And as I turned the body over there, I saw my brother's only son in that ragged uniform, as he lay there, a trophy from the war. never did return to the village of my birth. I roamed around from war to bloody war, and all that I can ask for from this heaven and this earth is to heal my mind of all the things I saw. But it's too late for forgiveness, it's too late for amnesty. I'm too far down the road to living hell. All I'm left with is the bitter taste of a heart that's turned to ice, and the soul that I came to sell. And I'm sitting in the stinking cell in some forsaken place, and I guess the time has come for me to pay. But there's nothing in the world that I can do to make it right. There's nothing that's left for me to say. And the power politicians, they simply slip away, protected by the riches that they stole. From the sweat and from the hunger of a land they left in ruins, and a people that they never could control. And Mama sent a letter, I could almost hear her cry. Thank God she never knew the things I'd done. Well, I just read it and then I burned it, 'cause I knew I'd not reply. George de Santos, as she knew him's dead and gone. George de Santos, as she knew him's dead and gone. George de Santos, as she knew him's dead and gone. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, it's true what Donovan was saying earlier about performance going up and down. But I'm sure all of you old bullies know that life is also a performance. And, you know, like parts of the body, they also go up and down at different times of life. So after this whole saga with you know, being in the world of news, kind of whole long story short, I ended up I worked for ETV for a while. A thankless bunch of arseholes that. That's the ETV, you know, the wrestling channel. Yeah. Then at the age of 54, almost 55, I got an amazing opportunity to go and start when I was in Durban. Durban is such a cuck place that all there was to do when I was a lightie was smoke dagga and bunk school. So as a result, I kind of ended up with a standard 8, which and then I got this opportunity to go and do a master's degree at a very good university in America. God knows how that happened. And I'm about to complete it. Actually, I'm going back there in December to go and finish this whole process, which I've been doing for the last 2 years, going over for half of the year. And you know, my fortunes, as in my romantic life, has also been a kind of an up and down situation. And I got to the point where it come to a down that I thought would be, you know, it kind of become terminal, you know, a terminal down where you think, okay, well that's it, you know, nothing more is going to happen around here. I won't tell you the whole long story, but man. Anyway, this song is about kind of sort of what happened. there's snow. The southern tip of Africa still calls me, but in the night I hear you call my name, and I know there won't be other second chances, and if I lose you, I have myself to blame. And the snow in North Carolina, and in Durham town the sleet cuts like a knife. And when I remember you on Alabama Avenue, it warms the frozen corners of my life. Thank you. Thank you very much. One of the things that led to that terminal, that previous terminal kind of cul-de-sac in the romantic road, was I shouldn't be indiscreet, but I had a long relationship with a very wonderful woman who was a mental health practitioner, a psychiatrist. I realized afterward that she was probably writing a paper, and I was just waiting to see myself kind of, in the Lancet or something. And when I finished doing the news work in 1995, my last assignment was in Chechnya for the fall of Grozny, which was one of the, kind of acknowledged as one of the biggest battles that ever taken place, and I got caught in Grozny. So I left that work. I mean, it kind of, can do terrible damage to a person's head, and I bought a little piece of land up on the other side of the Vainskloof Mountains, and I spent a year out there building a house, which kind of, was part of the process of getting my head together and healing myself. But when I bought the piece of land, it was like a piece of rock, actually, that in the Fynbos. And I took her out there to show her this wonderful acquisition. And she took a look at it and said, "What the fuck are you going to do with this piece of rock?" And I said, I'm going to build a house. And she was so cross that she didn't speak to me for like 3 weeks. Anyway, the house went up, and it's been up now for 14 years. And she did come and spend some time there, but then, one thing inevitably leads to another in a fellow's life. Anyway, this is a song about them. Well, the stream in October is still close to freezing, and the south wind is blowing its madness, and my mind starts to wander, and the heat is increasing, and the new season brings back old sadness, and the place where we lay when the stars were on fire, they still burn a scar in my head, and the rocks where we rested, they bear silent witness to our dreams now discarded and dead. And nothing I do or say I believe can shut out my memories of you, 'cause your face is engraved like a sign on my heart, like a sign of the times we both knew. The mountains in August, they're covered in winter, and the north wind, it freezes my bones. Like a dark empty place where my heart used to be is now filled up with struggles and stones. And I remember your smile and the taste of your kisses as the darkness would hide us from reason. and the stars would explode in our hearts, but the night gave no warning of torment or treason. But still you appear through walls of denial, you slide through the cracks in the night, and all of the wine and the whiskey I drowned in couldn't put out your light. And the memories can fade like the river, like our heartbeats can simply expire. And these memories that fade in are all that I have of when our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. The sky turns to crimson in the dusk of November. It's the color my blood used to be. When my heart used to beat like a tempestuous drummer, your heart was unlocked and set free. And these days when I see you, you seem like a stranger. I never know quite what to do. But I wish I could tell you in words so you'd hear me the way that I think about you. And I know that I'll never come near you again, but the stream still whispers your name. And my memories are locked in my own private prison, like a thief with no conscience or shame. And these memories can die like the river, like our heartbeats can simply expire. And these memories that fade are all that I have when our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. When our hearts and the stars were on fire. Thanks. Thank you. So that's the story of my life. So I'll get the hell out of here now. This last one is one that I wrote. You know, it's a funny thing. It's a real true thing that you go through a period in your life where, like, every weekend you go into a wedding, and then you come to a period in your life where every weekend you go into a damn funeral. And a whole lot of my mates, my old muso mates, well, I mean, they brought it on themselves, you know. They wanted to behave like a bunch of hooligans. It's a song that, so I don't know if you'll know the references, but it's Clem Thollet and Theo Kutsia and Kenny Henson, Sid Kitchen, although Sid's not dead, but he should be. The Uptown Rhythm Dogs, Tony Hunter. It's got a really easy chorus if you want to sing along with it. This is a kind of folk club, and sing-alongs are kind of things that you do. Well, the nights, they go out one by one, but the night still fills with voices. The old boys shake their memories as their lives run out of choices. This week we said goodbye to Clem, Last week it was Theo. If they by chance run into Plod, man, that would make a damn fine trio. 'Cause it's all in the heart, my friend. It's the heart that tells the stories. It's all in the heart, my friend. Well, it's all in the heart, my friend. And Sid still plays the clubs and dives. He sings until he trembles. He strums until the morning light, when the Church of Zion assembles. And Ken has played his last goodbye, his fingers fast as a lightning. He hardly had the breath to breathe, but to hear him, it was frightening. 'Cause it's all in the heart, my friend. It's the heart that tells the stories. It's all in the heart, my friend. Well, it's all in the heart, my friend. Now the uptown dog, it lies asleep. That's what Dan and Neil had intended. And old Tony Hunter's gentle sounds float through those nights remembered. And my rocky road, it is still so long, but it holds the dreams I'm after. Where once I used to roar with rage, now I just roar with laughter. 'Cause it's all in the heart, my friend. It's the heart that tells the stories. It's all in the heart, my friend. But it's all in the heart, my friend. And it's all in the heart, my friend. It's the heart that tells the stories. It's all in the heart, my friend. Well, it's all in the heart, my friend. Well, it's all in the heart, my friend. Well, it's all in the heart, my friend. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you.
I don't think that is right that the man should leave stage as such a slog spurt. Roger. Come back here. I think we want one more from you. Right, a big hand for Roger Lucey.
Thank you very much. I really shouldn't, because this is way after my bedtime. Sure. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish off with a song that always takes my. It's sort of like this song kind of really inspires me. That's the other thing you get. You know, all these modern equipment. You know, there's like a tuner over here, but you need one pair of glasses to be able to see the tuner, another pair of glasses to see the audience, and you can't. You know, so it's give up. Basically, the story behind this. I'll try and give it to you really quickly. I had a truly remarkable experience, and maybe some of you heard the story, and it's kind of boring, but. What happened was that in 1979, between 1979 and 1982, I thought at the time that I was being paranoid, but there was actually a covert operation that the security police kind of launched against me because of the nature of my songs. At the time, I really, I thought paranoia, some weird shit going on, so I never really spoke about it. And 14 years later, the policeman who was actually in charge of the operation made a full submission to the TRC about how he had gone about doing this thing. And that was an amazing thing because it there was something that happened in your past, when things happen and you can't grasp it, to put an end to it or understand it. Here was something that I could finally understand. But not only did that happen, but a Danish organization, a human rights music organization, commissioned a film to be made about me and this policeman. And we got to know each other during the making of this film. And we've actually become friends. And we've done a lot of kind of like appearances, weird appearances on public platforms where we talk about this process. How we ended up on opposite ends of the political divide. But this is a song that kind of tries to put an end to that particular little period. I wrote it to try and put a lid on all that stuff that happened. Memories hang like spiders suspended in thin air. Strangers' faces fill my nights and the dreams go wild out there. Like a runaway on a desert island. I'm a runaway on a desert island. I'm a runaway on a tiny island. Once upon a time I was a stranger, caught between fiction and truth. And I saw a world that was stranger than the real world and twice as uncouth. For a while I hung in the balance, in that half-world elusive as truth. Well, there's no real world, it's your own world. You are the real world. You are the real world. Once there was a man who was a stranger, and he ruled this land with an iron fist. Like a dark force in some children's story, he'd hold up the world and he'd insist that the world he made was the real world. Millions followed like flies, and for millions his world became their world. It's like when you start believing your own lies, and it's so easy to believe, and it's so easy to deceive. But it's all right now. Yes, it's all right now. As the sun goes down like the vanquished in some unholy game, and the moon calls the lovers, and the moon calls my name, and the night brings the comfort, and the night brings the pain, and the stars, they warm my body, and the stars, they calm my brain. And the river flows right through me, and the river heals the pain that the darkness marked my heart with. But that won't happen to me again. Like a runaway, oh, like a runaway, oh, like a runaway, I won't get lost again. And I'm all right now. Oh yes, I'm all right now. Oh yes, I'm all right now. And I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, you are. And big hand